But let's now turn to Ukraine, because more than 260 soldiers, many of them wounded, have been evacuated from the besieged steel plant in the southern city of Mariupol, appearing to cede control of the city to Russia after 82 days of bombardment. The General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces said the soldiers defending the plant had performed their combat task, and their main goal now was to save the lives of the personnel. It comes as Turkey has threatened to block Sweden and Finland's accession to NATO, which would be, of course, a boost to Russia. Well, delighted to say, joining me now is the former president of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko. Mr. Poroshenko, thank you so much indeed for joining us here on GBNews. First of all, let's talk about those very brave soldiers in Mariupol who've held out for 82 days. There must be, in some ways, a sense of relief that the wounded now are finally able to get out.
Thank you very much indeed for such words for our brave soldiers. And Mariupol soldiers start to be a symbol of Ukrainian resilience. The time when Putin expected that within 36 hours, Putin troops will be on the Krещатик, on the main street of Kiev. And when our battalion, together with the thousands and thousands of Kievites and all Ukrainians, stopped Putin troops. And I'm proud that armed forces, which was created by me as a Supreme Commander-in-Chief since year 2014, demonstrate to the whole world that Ukraine has one of the strongest army in Europe. Because of what? Because we have a best motivation. We're fighting for our soul. We're fighting for our children and women. We're fighting for our future. And Putin soldiers has absolutely no motivation. With this situation in Mariupol, 82 days without food, without water, melting the snow to reach the water to drink, without ammunition, they tied more than 2 divisions, more than 20,000 Russian troops saving Ukraine. And I want to first of all appreciate and thanks for General Secretary of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, for President of ICRC, Peter Maurer, for President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and for Ukrainian armed forces who help us to organize this evacuation.
Incredible.
They continue this evacuation, and it would be significantly more Ukrainian soldiers. And now we should concentrate our efforts to return them back home. This is our main task now. And I call to the whole world to be shoulder to shoulder with us to save these heroic people.
Do you think there will be a prisoner swap with Russia?
This is what Ukrainian authorities declared today. But I have a very negative experience for negotiation with Putin. And I have 2 recommendations. Recommendation number 1, don't trust Putin. Putin never keeps his word. But recommendation number 2, don't be afraid of Putin. And this is what Ukrainians demonstrate. Definitely would be initiated the 3 most important things now. Point number 1, and this is the point for the peace negotiation, that would be the complete ceasefire without any precondition. Point number 2, withdrawal of the troops of Russia as a country aggressor. And point number 3, releasing all the hostages from Ukrainian side, from Russian side, and provide the whole humanitarian mission to saving civilians, because millions of civilians now, because of the Russian aggression, suffered from this disastrous war.
Are you not concerned, though, that now that Mariupol has essentially fallen to the Russians, that they've got this land corridor from Crimea to the Russian border, and that they're going to try and hold on to that they're not going to give up that land corridor very easily? Are you concerned, despite the efforts of those brave troops?
I'm concerned about every single square meter of Ukrainian land. And I can assure you, Ukraine never give up. And we do not have any compromise on the subject of the territorial integrity. This is not possible. And all Ukrainian land, including Crimea, including Donbass, including Kherson, we will definitely liberate. Exactly like I, as the Supreme Commander-in-Chief of Ukrainian Armed Forces in the year 2014, make Mariupol free, together like 2/3 occupied Donbass. We do that in the year 2014. We will do that the same now.
Your sense is, and you're right, you were president at the time, this war is not just a couple of months old, it is 8-9 years old. Do you think Ukraine will now not settle? Ukrainian victory means pushing the Russians out of not just the Donbass region, but maybe even Crimea too?
Please remove even. Donbass, definitely. Crimea, definitely. And point number 3, deputinize Russia. Deputinize Europe and deputinize world. Because if we do not do that, in 1 year or 2 years' time, Putin can knock at the door of any neighboring countries. Or maybe not neighboring. Now Putin is completely unpredictable. And I want that, first of all, I want to appreciate, using this opportunity, all the British people for enormous solidarity with us. British Parliament, by partisan support for Ukraine. British government and my good friend and great friend of Ukraine, your Prime Minister Boris Johnson. You're playing a crucial role now, supplying us the weapons. And that was an answer on my letter, which I sent to Boris Johnson. And I received an answer. Not only I received the letter in response, but not only by that, but with the British howitzer, with the British anti-aircraft missiles, with the British weapons, and with the British financial support. This is exactly position friend in need. Is a friend indeed. Thank you.
And we really appreciate those words. Thank you, Mr. Poroshenko. Just very finally, before I let you go, you talked about President Erdogan of Turkey earlier. I don't know whether you talked to him or have the ability to do so, but do you think he should allow Sweden and Finland to join NATO? He suggested he might veto it. Do you think that the Turks should allow Sweden and Finland into NATO?
Unfortunately, the aggression against Ukraine demonstrates the ruins of the all post-war security system based on Security Council of United Nations. And in the world, there is not remain any effective security mechanism but NATO. I just want to remind you, when Ukraine giving up the third biggest nuclear arsenal in the world in the beginning of the 90s, we received the security guarantee in form of the Budapest Memorandum. Great Britain was one of the countries guarantor. But this is worth the paper. And with that situation, I think that the President Erdogan is definitely interested in the secure Europe. But I think the future membership of the Finland and Sweden, this is definitely not enough for security. It would be no security if Ukraine will not be also NATO member state. That's why in June, in summit of NATO in Madrid, we definitely should receive membership action plan for NATO for Ukraine.
Petro Poroshenko, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate your time this afternoon on GB News. That's Petro Poroshenko, the former president of Ukraine. Thank you indeed.